anaconda is the largest snake on Earth. So you have reticulated pythons in Southeast Asia. They're actually longer. But anacondas are these massive boas. They give live birth. And unlike a lot of other species, so an anaconda starts off, a little 2-foot anaconda, just a little thicker than your finger, a little baby. And they're food for cane toads, herons, crocodiles, you name it. They're pretty harmless, defenseless. But as they grow, they're eating the fish, they're eating the crocs, and then they grow a little more and they're eating things like capybara, and they're eating larger prey. And then at the end of their life, a female anaconda, you're talking about a 25, 30 foot, 300, 400 pound snake with a head bigger than a football. And these things, that means that they impact the entire ecosystem, which is very unique.
Moves up the food chain to become basically
an apex predator.
Yeah, apex predator.
Yeah. The apex predator of the rivers. And so
that's so interesting. It's just eating your way up the food chain.
Eating your way up the food chain. If you can survive. And like they're constantly at war with everything else. But so I showed up in the Amazon. I was like, so where are the anacondas at? Yeah. And they were like, oh no, it's not like that. They're like, it's you have to find these things. They're subterranean. They're living in the special swamps. People kill them. And so we went to the floating forest after we'd come back from an expedition. We'd call it like a 12-foot anaconda, and it's become like this like classic photo of me and JJ with this anaconda over our shoulders, and we were like, we 12 days out in the jungle on a hunting trip, and we came back and we showed his dad, and Santiago looked at us and he was like, that's the smallest anacondita I've ever seen. He's like, you guys are pathetic.
Oh man, 12 foot.
And he was like, look, you go. He was like, go. He's like, I'm giving you permission. Go to the Buayo, go to the floating forest. And so we went to this place, and we reached there at night, and it was me, JJ, and one of his brothers. And his brother took one look at it and was like, I'm out. And he started walking back. And me and JJ get to the edge of this thing. And this is our friendship. It's both this two idiots pushing each other farther and farther. Mm-hmm. And like I like put a foot on the ground, and it all shook. Mm-hmm. And the stars are reflecting on the ground. And what we realize is that it's a lake with floating grass on top of it.
Yeah.
And there's islands of grass floating on this lake, very Life of Pi, and the tops of trees are coming out of the surface of the water. And so we start walking across this, and JJ's going, these are big anacondas. And I'm going, JJ, that's a 2-foot wide smooth path snaking through the grass. Mm-hmm. There's no anaconda that big.
Yeah.
And he was going, shh, they're listening. And I said, they don't have ears. He goes, they're listening. And it's like, we're walking, and then it's like, maybe it's like 1 a.m. or something. And it was just like one of those moments where we saw it at the same time, and we were standing by the tail, and the snake was so big that, this must have been a 25-foot anaconda dead asleep with a probably a 16-foot anaconda like sprawled across her. Mm-hmm. And they're laying in the starlight, and we're floating on top of a lake, standing there in the middle of the Amazon. And JJ I could feel the blood drain out of his mm-hmm. face. And as like however old I was, maybe 20 years old, I just said, if we could somehow show people this, mm-hmm. we'll be on the front cover of National Geographic, and we can protect all the jungle that we want. Mm-hmm. And so I tried to catch it.
Yeah.
So I jumped on the snake, and the only measurement I have of this animal is that when I wrapped my arms around it, I couldn't touch my fingers.
Yeah. And
so I was, my feet were dragging, and to her credit, this anaconda did not turn around and eat me because her head was, this big. Yeah. And she went and she reached the edge of the grass island, and she starts plunging into the dark. Mm. And so I'm watching the stars vibrate as this anaconda's going, and I had to make the choice of either going headfirst down into the black, which no thank you, or stopping and just keeping my hand on this thing as it raced by me. And I just felt the scales and the muscle and the power go by, and then eventually taper down to the tail until it slipped away into the darkness. And I was laying there just panting. And then I turned around and went, JJ, what the fuck? Like, where were you, man? And he was just like completely white, circuits blown. And I had to go then like kind of like take care of him. I was like, are you okay? And he was like, no. He just couldn't. And so we came back with that. And then after that, we were like, okay, clearly the parameters of reality that we thought were possible are just a tiny fraction of what's out there.